My name is Mary Burley. I am the Chief Educator at the Norman Rockwell Museum and here to celebrate with you a very special day. Dennis Nolan, the guest curator for the Keepers of the Flame exhibit, is sitting with two local students, Henry Bradway, a 7th grader from Stockbridge, Massachusetts, and James Tonetti, a 4th grader from Stockbridge, Massachusetts. They are talking about what inspired Dennis to create this extraordinary exhibit. Dennis spent more than 10 years putting the exhibit together. He spent 30 years studying what teachers of illustration taught what teachers of illustration. Right in the museum and available digitally now are 600 years of paintings connecting teachers to each other. So we hope that students and teachers from around the world explore this content and enjoy what has been an incredible experience for us here to understand and celebrate and make sense of Keepers of the Flame, who helps who learn and grow as artists and illustrators.
We sound like?
What inspired you to create the show?
Well, what actually inspired me to create the show was thinking about who taught me how to draw. And I'm a drawing teacher, so I always thought it was fascinating how someone actually learned how to draw, because you learn how to draw. And so I had a teacher who taught me, and I started wondering about Norman Rockwell, who taught Norman Rockwell how to draw, who taught Maxwell Parrish how to draw. And once I started that, it just started a whole, because Rockwell's teacher had a teacher, and that teacher had a teacher, and that teacher had a teacher, right? None of them invented drawing, and drawing goes way back, you know. And so, that's how it all started.
What is a curator, and how do they spend their time?
Well, I was asked to guest curate this show, which means that I don't work for the museum. So my job was to come in with a list of artists and their paintings that I thought would make a good show. And then I worked with the curators here. I worked with Stephanie Plunkett. And I started the idea of the show 10 years ago. And it took us all that time to find out if there were enough paintings to actually have a show. We had to look for paintings from each one of these artists all over the country and see if we had enough. And so the curator's job is to find the paintings, ask the museums or the private collections if they can borrow the paintings, and then work out all the details of putting the show together, hang it on the wall.
What do you think your favorite painting is in the show?
My favorite painting? My favorite painting is that one right there, my Ichabod Crane, Norman Rockwell's Ichabod Crane painting. That's a favorite, and it's always been one of my favorites. I've known that painting since I was, probably your age. And I just always loved it because it's a character from a story that I always loved, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Do you know that one? Ichabod Crane. But I've got other favorites in here. I got lots of favorites. One of my favorite paintings in here is also a Norman Rockwell. I always loved that one of the girl looking at herself in the mirror, wondering what she's going to be like when she's a grown-up. I think that's what she's wondering, but I'm not sure.
Why do you think that is your favorite painting?
I think because there's something about this one, the expression on his face, it feels like he's just looking right at me. And it's not even something I think about so much as something I feel.
Yeah.
And same with that one. I look at it and I can think of what the story might be, but even just thinking about the story, it's not as much as what I feel about that story. Yeah. I kind of understand what she's, you look at it and you go, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you do before you're an artist or a curator?
Well, let's see. I've been, I went to school to become a painter.
Yeah.
And but I also became a historian. I took art history classes. So then after college, I started painting, and I painted for a long time. I painted all sorts of things. I painted magazine covers, I painted book covers, I painted record album covers before they were little DVDs and CDs. I painted video game covers. I did a lot of stuff. And then I started teaching, and I taught fourth grade for a long time, and I taught seventh grade, and I taught eighth grade, and then I taught college. And so I taught college for the last 35 years. I've been teaching college. And then I decided to put my ideas together for this.
So what will you remember from the show?
The great people I worked with, because I couldn't have done this at all by myself, right? It takes a real big team to do this. And everybody here was just so great, so I'm going to remember that. I'll also remember how it took us a while to, and we weren't sure at some point, we weren't sure if we could even do it, and I was encouraged all the time by Stephanie and everybody else saying, yes, this is going to happen, don't worry, we're going to do this. And so when it did happen, I was just really pleased. So I'll remember that.
What do you want other people to remember about it?
That we're all connected, you know? I mean, the whole idea of this show is that Norman Rockwell learned how to draw so that he could learn how to paint. And he learned how to paint so that he could tell stories, right? That's what he wanted to do. And, but he learned it from someone else. He learned how to draw from someone else, his teacher, George Bridgman. Well, George Bridgman learned how to draw from his teacher, Jean Leon Gérôme. Gérôme learned from his teacher, Delaroche. Delaroche learned from his teacher. And I've been able to trace it back 500 years from teacher to teacher to teacher to teacher. And they were passing on something that they loved. They passed on how to draw to their students. And so then that student grew up and became a teacher and passed on that love to that student. Right? And so they kept going on and on. And if I want anybody to understand anything in this, and this isn't just about art, right? It's about passing on what you love and what you know to be right, what you know to be beautiful, what you know to be true, and passing it on to the next generation. You know, that's what we're here for, right? You know, we're a bridge from the past to the future, and we take that and give it, right? You know, so I'd like that idea to be there.
Yeah.